Alrighty guys, hi, it's Amanda. I am back for another video. In today's video, I'm going to be continuing my adoption story. I am going to first off thank any of my new subscribers. I appreciate you guys being here, and my returning subscribers, thank you so much for all of your support. It means a lot to me. With that being said, I do kind of want to ask of you guys to leave down a comment and let me know which videos you are preferring. I am going to continue covering commentary and my adoption story, but I would like to know what you guys like better, so I can make sure I'm doing an even bunch of each. There are plenty of things going on that I have my opinions on that I can provide more commentary on. I just didn't create this channel for that. I kind of fell into it, so I kind of wanted to get you guys' opinion and see where you guys fall before I really go down that path. Anyways, aside from that, I know I've mentioned in a couple of videos trying to work on where I am filming and my lighting, and that is still in the works. I would have tried this video in a different area today. However, my husband is on a conference call and I don't want that to be heard, and I don't want him to be me doing this to be interfering with what he's got going on, so I am just going to film here for this video. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and get on into it. Sorry for the long intro, I guess, if you want to call it that. But so this video, I kind of prefaced in my last one, is going to involve some of my biological family. So I'm kind of in early adulthood at this time, and it was how old was I? I think I was 21, 20, 21-ish, right around there. I went through a phase where I think most children who were adopted and know they were adopted kind of go through, especially in situations like mine where we didn't have any contact with our biological family. I went through a phase where I was kind of interested. I did know their names, I remembered them. I would kind of Facebook look at them on their Facebooks to kind of gauge to see where they were at or what they were posting, that kind of thing. And I got to a point where I just felt, why not reach out to them? Why not see where they're at, see if it's worth giving them another chance to be a part of my life? Because after all, we are biological family. So I did just that. I reached out to one of my sisters who I knew was still in the area based off of her Facebook, and I sent her a message, and I kind of just stated who I was, and to start a conversation, and it worked. She did respond to me and acknowledged who I was and that she remembered me. As I had mentioned in earlier parts of my story, I was the youngest from my biological mother. My other two sisters were quite a bit older than me, so they were teenagers when I was removed from the household and put in foster care, so they were somewhat aware, and I just didn't know how much they were aware of. So I did reach out to them, and I started talking to one of my sisters, and we were getting along okay. Nothing too serious, just kind of superficial, normal conversation. And then, of course, it came to a point where, well, let's go ahead and meet for dinner. And I was okay with it. And my family, and again, when I refer to my family, it is my adoptive family. They are my family. I let them know where I was at and how things were progressing. They were super supportive. In no way through any part of my adoption or my age or any questions or anything like that were they ever discouraging. It was always, if that's what you want to do, we're here to support you. So I got that response, and I went ahead and I went to dinner, and I was expecting for just the one sister to be there, but actually both of my sisters were there. So we had dinner. It was pretty superficial. We talked about a couple of more in-depth things, and at this point, I guess it would probably have been better if I prefaced. I knew more as an adult of what caused me to be removed and what the situation was. And I guess when I met them, I was kind of trying to gauge what they knew and how they perceived everything to have happened. And I was trying to really fill out if I could trust them or not. And unfortunately, they were telling me information that I knew wasn't right. And at that point, I didn't feel it was a situation where I should have just written them off. I felt like maybe they're scared, maybe they're afraid I'm going to react in a bad way, maybe they don't know that I know all of these things. So I just kind of let it go. And I would see them occasionally, and then it kind of became where one of my sisters had children and she wanted my husband and I to watch her children. We were fine with that. We watched them, we took them to do things, and then that started becoming a regular habit. And I was a little concerned by that because they still really didn't know me. And they were just, she was okay with that. That kind of concerned me. And then I was in my younger 20s. I was drinking alcohol, not in excess or anything, but I would drink. And that was something that they would want a lot, is for, hey, come hang out. Why don't you and your husband, bring over a couple of cases of beer and, we can all just hang out. And, I did that for a little bit, and I started, about the 5th time I visited them, I started to get weird vibes. They had never been honest about my upbringing or what caused me to be in foster care. They were never honest, I don't think, with themselves about because they were still living the lifestyle, is what I was starting to realize. They were still into using substances. They were abusing alcohol. The whole reason I was taken from the household was continuing. And it was something that I kind of knew could happen. I was hoping for the best, but I was real with myself and knowing that very well could be a possibility. And about that 5th visit, I, every time I saw them, except for the first meeting, I always had my husband with me. And, I would bounce stuff off of him and how he felt about things and what his interpretation of, like, what this person said or what this person did. And I was starting to realize, like, I was kind of having blinders on. And I didn't know what to do about it. Because I was okay if they weren't, I really was okay if they weren't a part of my life, but I had wanted to try. And I knew at that point I had tried. And I sat down with myself and I was like, okay, I'm just going to try and get everything out with them to see how they're going to react and, make my decision from there. Well, the next time we ended up seeing them was at a get-together that they had for Christmas. And, I told them, okay, hey, we'll stop by. They really were wanting me to go. And they hadn't really been pushy before for me to attend anything or go see them. But this time they were really, really pushy. And I didn't understand why until I got there. So, I've mentioned before, but I don't have a good memory, especially from early childhood. It's pretty much very blotchy. So I get there and there's a ton of people there, which was to be expected. It was a get-together. However, what I ended up having to deal with was stuff I had told them I didn't want to deal with. I told them I didn't care if people who knew me when I was young to ever be around me, but I didn't want them to question me and if I remembered them and this, that, and the other. Like memories of things I would do and like how I behaved, I was cool with that. Like I didn't have that. I didn't have people to reminisce those things with me, so I was okay with that. But I didn't want to be pressured and make people feel bad because I couldn't remember who they were or what role they may have played in my life at a certain time. And that's what happened over and over and over again for about an hour straight. I had all of these individuals who I couldn't remember their name. They kind of expected me to, and I couldn't. They were trying to make me remember things that I couldn't remember. They were all inebriated, and that only exacerbated my frustration. And my biological mom was there for this, and I was fine with seeing her. I had seen her 1 or 2 times before that, and there were tears. Like, it was exciting and kind of hopeful at that time when I first saw them that I might be able to have a connection with them. And I know that's kind of like a step back, but as I've said, it's hard for me to keep everything linear. So this party happened, and I just was not okay with it. There were other things that happened that I don't feel comfortable sharing, that really just further pushed me to know for a fact they were still living this lifestyle that I did not agree with. My husband is active duty military. I was not willing to risk his career. I was not willing to risk my future career. I wasn't willing to risk anything for the hopes of potentially having a healthy relationship with these people. I hadn't lived with them for 20 years. Although they were biological, to me they were not family. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's how I felt. In my story, that's how I felt. And I already had a family. I was not looking to replace them. I was not looking for validation. I was more or less trying to find closure in a chapter. And I did get that, but it was sad. It wasn't the closure that I wanted. It was disappointing. And it sucks. Obviously, it sucks because everybody wants to have that relationship, but I was okay with not having it. It just still was a slap in the face because I had assumed if you were going to go through everything they went through, because they had to have gone through things as bad as I did at some points. Like, they lost a sister, they lost a child, they missed out on their whole life, and here they are, like, being presented to you and given the opportunity to mend all of that and maybe move forward, and they couldn't even step away from their lifestyles. And from my profession, I know why they couldn't, but they wouldn't even try to hide it. They tried in the first couple of meetings to lie about everything, but the truth is always revealed in the long run. And I had my suspicions, and I think in the back of my mind I had them early on and just kind of avoided it a little bit. So after that holiday party, I kind of distanced myself from them. I didn't see them again. I would exchange a message or a text here or there, and they inquired why I was stepping away, and I did inform them, I don't agree with how you guys are living, that I don't feel comfortable being a part of you guys' physical lives at this time, and that I needed some space. And some of them were okay with giving me that space. A couple of others weren't. And it was just a scenario where I really needed to put a barrier up, and I needed to put hard boundaries in for them. So if I didn't want to talk to them, I wouldn't talk to them. I wouldn't feel obligated to respond. I, wouldn't answer their phone calls if I wasn't wanting to speak to them. And that went on for a month. And then I got married to my husband. And My marriage ceremony was super tiny. It was very last minute, and they were not people I even considered inviting. So once that went on Facebook that I got married and, had pictures posted, I got a slew of text messages from my biological mom telling me she had every right to be there, and how could I do this? How could I leave her out of my marriage? All of this stuff. Just totally bashing me on why I didn't feel she should be there. And that was the straw for me. That was it. Because I had the conversations with them that, listen, I understand you're biological. However, you have to see where I'm coming from. I know it's hard, but I'm working towards having a relationship with you, and I'm not saying that it's not ever going to be possible, but for right now, it is just us like treading water, getting to know each other. You can't expect for me to just jump in and be like, here's my mom and here's my sisters, because that's not how I felt. And they seemed to be understanding, and they seemed to have been handling that well until this point. And I can attest to the fact that I probably didn't respond in the best way. I sent her several text messages back and probably said a couple of things that were really hurtful to her. However, I was being true and I was being real. I just kind of told her, I get you're my biological mom. I appreciate you birthing me into this world. I appreciate anything you have done for me. I appreciate your willingness to sign your rights away to me. I understand that was hard. However, you didn't raise me. I have not called you mom to this point, and I did not feel in this personal life-changing event you should have been a part of it. And the fact that you feel you should have when we have only been talking for a few months is really not settling with me. And from this point on, I'm going to cease communication with you guys. And I did tell her that. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped talking to them. I blocked them on any and all forms of social media for their phone numbers. And I know to some people that might seem harsh, but I have always been able to put up very strong boundaries and walls, and that is to protect myself. And looking back, I kind of wish at times I would have handled a little bit of these situations differently, and I didn't. And I don't regret how I reacted. I don't regret the things that I, had tried to build with them. I gave them the best effort, and I wish it could have gone differently, but for me, it did not. And, looking back, as I said, like, I wish things could have been different, but it is the reality of how my story had played out until this point. And I'm there. This has been several years now, and I can attest to saying the next part is going to be several years later, because nothing, as an adult, not a whole lot happened. There are like lessons and stuff, and I don't know if that's what I'm going to film next, or if it's going to be the next big part of my story, which does reintroduce some of these individuals. So although this was the first time I reached out to my biological family, it was not the last time I heard from them. So if you guys are interested in hearing how that goes, just keep watching. It will probably be up soon. And if you're really interested in it and you're not subscribed, just go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I do have, if you can tell, there are gaps in everything. If there's any particular area or something I didn't talk about but I kind of mentioned, if you want more information on, or if you're interested in how things may have developed, if you let me know, I can either answer it in the comment section if you leave it in a comment, or I can film videos if I remember it enough. I just want to throw that out there because especially in this part, although it's long, there are areas that I chop short because I'm watching the timer and I can see I'm going into a pretty lengthy area, and I know people kind of get bored, so I'm gonna stop here, but that is always open to you guys, and I'm just gonna leave that open for you guys for interpretation. I hope you guys are having a good day, evening, or night wherever you are, and I will see you next time. Bye.